ladies and Germans, how you all doing? This is Con Ulrich.
Hello.
And folks, we're continuing our coverage of the monthly tournament today. We are in Orsha East this time, so working our way around the compassed rank. Who do we have on this old gingerbread man of maps?
On the left-hand side of blue, we have Stardekk playing Tarty with Maverick Income, and on the right-hand side in the red, we have Insha playing Pashana with a Maverick Income.
You know, if you cover up all of Inshaaaaaa's troops at the same time, all you just see is the wave of A's running across the map. It's actually quite terrifying. Just try to mouse over them all at the same time. Terrifying aspect.
Oh yeah, they're all shouting.
Yeah, exactly.
Eternal pain.
It's like the oorah of like the Russian people, but it's the Poles, really. We are going to get those rinky-dink 50 mil mortars over here in the middle on that hilltop. Unfortunately, this is probably one of the few times that's not going to be a great idea because of how aggressive those Hungarians are going to be.
He really got into the pole position, you could say, against the Poles. Flamethrowers, perfect ambush. He's got the anti-tank rifles and the Panzerschrecks as well. The 40 mil rust up. That is a beautiful position.
It's devastating, honestly. Like, yes, there are some light vehicles hither and yon, and indeed, that 40 mil is going to find himself with a plethora of targets before he gets taken out. And indeed, even the northern side, it's just like watching those two guys that just kind of literally throw their armies at each other and just kind of like smack them together just to see what happens. It is vicious already. Jeez.
Yeah, one advantage though is that Insha is, has some pretty heavy-duty firepower in his deck. He has a whole lot of tanks, and those Cromwells will prove to be pretty good in this matchup. Mainly just GTS speed, but they do have decent fire support with the two machine guns and the standard 75 mil high explosive shells on a rather cheap 50-point tank.
Yes, absolutely. But Hungarians, what might be the response to this?
Infantry spam.
Yeah,
I mean the Hungarian infantry to some point. They were seeing a lot of the low vest troops being brought in the disheartened. So they're still pretty damn good. They're actually really bloody good for a disheartened troop. Machine gun, anti-tank grenade. I mean, they put the Ersatz troop into shame.
Well, I should hope so, except the Ersatz troop have plenty of things to be quite depressed about, I would argue. Southern side, though, there's a mortar and there's a flame troop, and other than that, it's nothing but just green fields forever for those Hungarians. So, gotta be something here, because right now there's not a whole lot to back this up.
Infantry pushing through, the mortar completely missing, but also in the southern portion of that hill, that one Bren group has that one farm basically under control. All it really needs is just a single infantry unit to rush on in there to actually secure it back. We're also seeing that one ME-210 fly about, getting some good reconnaissance optics, and Insha's slowly, pushing his way through the central town. He's got a whole heap of firepower, and that firepower has worked out. The Vickers spam is a good call.
It is, but there's a 40 mil ME-210 who's just crushing one of these Cromwells with a flank shot. That's one thing. That spine looks like it's to be a great place to move armor up and down, but it also has that nice little issue of just kind of giving you flank on everything that's engaging you.
And it's a very exposed position, really.
Absolutely true. Stoke G in the middle. Transmission damage, not really a big issue when you're an assault gun and you're meant to be shot in the front. And I think Spaghetti protect this Cromwell? Yes, he does. So that's a quite a bit of a doorstop there to be engaged. Stokes, I think, have a rather disproportionately effective use, I would argue, against a lot of the first Pachana equipment.
Yeah, they have just enough armor to have a decent bounce shot or bounce chance against the Cromwells, but that Pak 40 style gun will just go through the Cromwells like a hot knife through butter.
Yes, absolutely. There is that 40 mil anti-tank weapon over here for the Hungarians that I have to kind of feel bad for them. But there's also the Stu-42, which makes me just be like, dang, son. I don't know. I have a soft spot in my heart for the Stu-42.
Same here. It's just fun seeing big, high explosive kabooms.
Yeah. But things are developing over here back in the center. Yes, the Poles, for the moment, are being very aggressive and able to take this, but there's another round of Hungarian troops that cleared the Bren group to the south. And maybe, just maybe, they're going to continue their domination on the lower side of this map. You can see a bunch of them making tentative steps for sure, but they can pick up two flags very, very easily.
Yeah, the problem with the Poles is that they really need to try to get these firefights outside of forest and CQC locations, and actually take advantage of all the armor. And I'm not talking just about tanks, but the half-tracks, the recon vehicles, just everything mobile to outmaneuver the Hungarians. If, for example, Insha can push Stardekk off that hill and then play out in the open in the fjords and valley below the hill, that's a very good position for him to get into. You're also seeing Stardekk bring up an off-map artillery of his own, so that should probably change momentum in his favor.
It's certainly possible. It is certainly possible. I'm just kind of taking a look over the entire map here. There's so much going on. Most times we're kind of struggling to say, okay, well, what's going on here? Like, if we're really kind of talking about, geez, everywhere. I don't even know where to look, because every single place I look one spot, I'm like, boy, there's more action over here. Like, this entire thing looks like a Jackson Pollock painting.
Ah, we got like pockets being formed all over the bloody place, and that's because Insha's actually using his armor somewhat effectively. Just a small, half-track push is gaining him a decent amount of territory. It's not strong territorial gains by any stretch of the imagination, but it's the type of play he needs to be doing with the Panzerna, and I'm happy he's actually doing it.
We are going to see the first whispers of that off-map speaking, though. 100 mil munitions are going to be dropping down on top of those mortars and what was going to be a Bren group. But one thing I think I actually kind of like about this is that those mortars, since they are so quick and nimble, the nimbleness ends up being kind of a liability.
Yeah.
Because if I hit anything close to that, they take even moderate casualties, so things are completely worthless. I mean, because they get taken out just that quickly, but there was an unspoken there. It wasn't needed to be spoken at the end of the day, it seems, but there was a thought process.
There was thoughts. And even though there wasn't much to really off-map to begin with, I mean, Stardekk now has a pretty good opportunity to push him through and, root himself into that town by just spamming lots of infantry. He just needs to start setting up roadblocks. We're also seeing the off-map artillery actually relocate to the northern side here, so he's going to be spreading the love all over the map.
And I think that's what needs to happen. Unfortunately, he's going to run into a Morris carrier, though, too. And that boys will take out that rinky-dink little stayer very, very easily.
Imagine getting killed by a Morris LRC. It's like the ugliest looking recon vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like a guy hated his job and was like, "You're getting fired in 2 weeks." He's like, "Fine, I'm deciding the ugliest thing I ever first." Or like,
what do you mean I can't draw swastikas in the stalls?
Exactly. Or like Hans was sleeping with his wife or something. It's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. But a second Stu 42. First one got taken out. The second one comes in, first shot takes out a Cromwell to the north.
Oh, different.
Yeah. You can't even just help but just shake your head at that. Checking back in the southern side, there's been a lot of equipment tossed at this. And currently there's a Cromwell 7 that's going to be very, very good until they can get that 75 mil forward. But then, even then, the 75 mil has to get a flank shot or something. And I don't think the Cromwell's going to be stupid enough to be like, oh yes, let's go for a traipse through the trees.
I don't feel it's be a very good idea for Insha to try to even push heavy down south. It's just going to be very costly trying to get back into that forest. He has a very good opportunity up north to try to break through, and really, this is like perfect territory if he breaks through up north. It's open ground, you bring out the fireflies, and you just play the armor game. You play the armor game really bloody well.
He certainly can. There's actually a second off-map being brought on in here too. Jeez, where is that? Oh, he's in the central position. So there's one south. one further to the north was engaged by a Vickers. I think we're going to see maybe a double push here. It isn't going to be the most effective for sure, but there's going to be just enough pressure, I think, being put down that we might see maybe a change in ownership here in the center.
Yeah, and these off-map artilleries I think will be pretty critical here for Stardekk, mainly because it allows him to get into favourable terrain, so he can bring in the spammy Hungarian infantry. Like, if he can get back into the northern neck, and get some infantry into that town, he doesn't have to fully hold it, but just making the battle fight over that area rather than trying to fight out in the open where the stews are, or the stew is right now, would be better for him. He kind of just ran into his own off-map.
Yeah, I was having a very Dirty Dozen moment there, where there's like the war games. I was like, get over the hillside! Yes, that's exactly what's happening here. Unfortunately, friendly fire isn't, and therein lies the rub, as the bard would say.
Feels like Insha's lost quite a bit of momentum now, and Stardekk is slowly gaining that advantage. We're seeing so heavy investment down south, a whole heap of Sepersis being brought in, some light vehicles as well. It's actually might just have enough firepower to push on through, but we're also seeing a stunk being brought in.
Yeah, that's true. Morris LRC is going to be able to kind of get aggressive here. And with the Stroke is taking an interesting kind of hold down position. I think I would probably have him look north as opposed to kind of looking south on that road. But regardless, checking back to the center, Sepersis, since all of them went to the south, there's no love in the central position, and I think this is going to be, this might be that change in ownership I was talking about. The Vickers is gone, the mortars are gone, the Sepersi's here, but he's out of range.
He's pretty useless if he can't flame.
Exactly. It's like, dude, you have one job. One job. And it's a 14-10 still for Insha, though, so it's really, really hard to be too critical, I suppose.
Yeah, he still has those rather critical northern positions. He hasn't been able to fully exploit it, and Stardekk is slowly bringing in the reinforcements, some arters, the infantry, to actually still have a good defense here.
The Ju-88 to obliterate the southern forest.
Oh, yeah.
Here it comes. 1,000 kilos. Goodbye.
Infantry push? No.
What infantry? I didn't see any infantry. Do you see any infantry? Oh, boy. Now, one thing I have to kind of be concerned here, though, too, is, yes, we do see Crusaders on the field. Love that. Unfortunately, we also still see the ME-410s. And there's oh, no, there's only one 210 here.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So make it count.
Well, so far he's been pretty good with it. He's got 2 kills, 3 kills with it, and he probably could have killed that AA tank and really kept his troops on the field for a very, very long time. But it seems for the moment that is not to be.
Oh, and you're also seeing far up north, Stardekk is trying to make a small little maneuver happen here, moving his infantry into that little village location, and considering how undefended the far north is, he could potentially get into the opposing farmstead, which would be a very good position for him if he can get into that forest.
It certainly would. I think I understand what he's doing right now with the Stog, with the airplane play right here. If the Crusader has no more HE shells, it's not a problem anymore, which honestly just makes a certain sort of sense. Not good sense, not like horse sense or anything, but it certainly has some sense.
Yeah, and there's also some sense down south of another off-map artillery strike, this time from the air, and that will be more than enough. Actually, yeah, we're seeing Insha evacuate the dance floor already, just seeing that plane being brought on in.
Yeah, I mean, stop this beat will certainly kill me, that's for sure. There's a hurricane coming in after him. But the 40 Mike in the middle part of the field is still just barely in range, which would give time for the Martyrs and Ladilovich and some more flame troops to kind of get there to the front. So, like the fact that we're seeing this aggressive play from Stardekk, this active defense, let's call it.
Yeah, no, that's a very good way to put it. He hasn't been playing, majorly aggressive. He's not making fantastic pushes anywhere, but he's managed to regain a 50-yard line, actually take a small little farmstead up north, but he has got good terrain positions. He's got his infantry into those towns, into those forests, and that's where the Poles really suffer. The infantry just does not hold it up to snuff compared to the bloody Hungarians.
No, you're absolutely right. They do put the Hun back in Hungary, though, because they're just obliterating everything in front of them. They are burning it to the ground. There's another off-map being dropped in on... Yep, jeez. I also didn't quite appreciate how many Crusaders the 1st Battalion gets. I kind of forgot that their anti-air tab is just all freaking Crusader tanks.
Yeah. Of all varieties. 2 Orlikans, 3 Orlikans, we got all the Orlikans.
Holstons galore, like, yeah. Yeah, they're all about the upholstery, which was a joke that I thought was going to work a lot better until I actually had to say it. Also, meanwhile, there's a 57 mil that's engaged in this stew, and kind of amusingly is that I think he probably would have had him on the turn, because he was too busy fighting with the Crusader tank, but now the spine of the world is under Stardekk's control.
Yeah, and he's managed to use his limited armor assets, so, you know, a couple stews, a few stugs, a few martyrs he has, and keep him relatively alive. He hasn't been overly committing them, they've been playing defensively, and it's working really well. I mean, that 1 stew position is in a perfect spot to just shut down really any infantry or light armor push which dares attack at spine.
The town in the absolute north is probably going to get dropped over here at the other direction. It says Martyr for some reason. I was like, yes, I'm going to take my Pack 40 and swat at all of those guys like a boss, as Piat's closing all around them and actually take them out very, very easily.
Yeah, and this is actually a pretty good, like, force here from Insha, mainly a very heavy infantry run. If he was to bring up some armor, he could probably once again make a pretty good push. Far up north, this is really, I think, the area Insha should be trying to invest in. So I see if like Godvision, we can see it's probably one of the more less well-defended zones under Stardekk's control.
Well, we also see the Stroke in the bottom finally goes down, courtesy of a Piat firing a bajillion rounds at him, as well as the Bofors. So, big loss to the southern side, which is kind of funny. I don't feel like we've seen enough tanks for the Poles to actually have in their deck. Like, there should be way more tanks.
Yeah, it's mainly just been focusing more on light armor and just, you know, the few comrades. Well, the tanks can only really take you so far, especially now that he's fallen back. You really just need to be investing in, I'd say, support guns, but it's gonna have to be tanks in this case. Oh, the off-map artillery playing up north just got shredded.
I didn't see by what. Did you see what that was?
It was anti-air. The
Well, he still
Bofors.
got one more. He still has one more he can bring in, so that's fine. I'm more fascinated by this push over here. The Tartak Lovich is like all the disheartened troops backed up by a martyr. So we have Stroke against the Tartak Lovich, and this is one of those times that, yeah, perversely, I don't know who actually could win this in a straight-up fight, because the disheartened's one thing, but they have a crazy amount of firepower, I would argue.
Honestly, the Tartar Glowfest is I don't know why they're disheartened. They have such good firepower.
By the way, there's the twin brother to that 305. He's right back in here. He's going to drop that artillery strike on the hillside. And if I am... No, really? Huh. There we go.
Oh, there we go.
And Hurricane's making runs galore here as they're desperately trying to turn around this push. If the spot, yeah. Little Gingy over here is almost entirely Hungarian. And these Strokies, if you can keep them in position for 20 seconds, which I don't think is too much of an ask, it's going to get very bad very, very quickly.
Yeah, he's just managed to completely overwhelm the front line with just so much bloody Tartalek dudes. I forgot how crazy Troph Tartalek is, which is a disheartened spam.
Oh no, they're all falling back into the artillery! Oh no! And there once was a hillside. Yes, falling back! Good plan. Very good plan. Oh, yay. Oof. Folks, that is approximately, what, 1/14th? 1/13th of the Polish troops getting pounded into paste. Yeah, that's freaking brutal.
Yeah.
Southern side, quick push going on here. I'm sorry to interrupt there,
Oh,
sir.
no problem.
LRC Stewards and a 17-pounder. Theoretically, they can push through, but not when you suddenly have all these other equipment just between Ju-88s and 40 mils going in, so this is going to be bad.
Insha, through heavy investment, has been able to get a foothold into your southern forest position here, and that's the anti-air coming in pretty clutch, stopping in heavy air investment. But Stardekk still is in that forest, and it's going to take more heavy investment to rout out. I feel like this was just a misallocation of resources here from Insha. Like he lost his momentum trying to fight over a forest fight he can't really win.
Just remember, guys, bombs are the answer. That's the answer to the question. Only you can prevent forest fighters. So, not Smokey the Bear. It's smoking out the bears. So yeah, the head over here completely in Tarty control. The right arm, not really fully in Stardekk's control, but I feel like the poles are at a breaking point. You said the pole position before. You're absolutely right, but I think right now, I think someone else is going to be threatening for that pole position.
Yeah, and it's just at this point I don't see where Insha can really use his tanks all that effectively. There's just so much infantry in all areas of the map who he has to mow down. It's just going to take too long. Especially now we're in C phase where both sides only have their 80-point income. It's harder to commit offensive operations.
One final 305, I think, is engaged into the northern side, and we can see again. Yes, probably some of the Hungarians are going to get hit with this too. But once again, another Polish push gets pounded into paste. And the alliteration was just right there. I had to go for it. But two or three squads going down by that. I had to see the number of kills from these artillery positions. I feel like they have been just devastating.
The off-map's been very clutch here for Stardekk. And then, Maverick-style divisions, it plays out quite well because you really can afford to buy them out on B phase, and that's where they make the most important effect on the match. Because now once you get into C phase, you just kind of play defensive. It's easier to play defensive when both sides are Maverick and you have the upper hand.
True. I'm also noticing that some of the anti-air has gone down. Yes, there still is a Crusader Mark II in the southern side. And he's going to try to engage this Ju-88. He might even get enough pressure here to really freak out those bombs. But nope, bombs come out, which is the infantry is going to die. Probably hit the Hungarians as well, but still. Good enough. 50% casualties is good.
Yeah. And those tanks on the edge of the forest can't do much. They're not going to go into the forest. It's a bloody death trap. The Martyr, however, is, and he's going to get a very good ambush position.
Well, there was a Stug. He's located down to the southern side here. Oh, look, the Martyr has killed the vicious Morris car. Yeah,
He's offended by the bad design. I don't blame him.
Yeah, neither do I. Stewart making a very, very brave run here, but another Sherman going down. Yeah, the Martyr knows what to shoot at, man.
Yeah, he's in a perfect ambush position, yeah.
And the Poles, I think we're getting the last kind of desperate rushes here, but just one by one, everything. That Martyr has killed 3 vehicles. He's going to go down to this Piat, mark my words. But, jeez. Getting there has just been such a crazy, crazy fight for him.
Oh. And just looking at the center part of the map, it is just a firing line of angry Hungarians. We have seen Insha being able to get a foothold back onto the hill, but barely has forces to make an effective push.
Well, there's a Strogan Defilade that's going to engage in probably... Oh, no, okay, that wasn't him that killed it. It was a 40 Mike that killed. But, yeah, I mean, you had a Sherman, you get backed up by 2 Cromwells. Nice kind of initial push to get in there, but there's too many fire sources. There's no way for him to really effectively engage all of them.
Yeah, it's overwhelming for targets.
And the southern side is just completely... But for one Sapertsi, which is going to go down here very, very soon, or just become a non-entity, really. There's nothing else there. No, I mean, it's insane.
I know, yeah.
What else is going to be there? It's insane.
Nothing. He can actually push out of the forest and get into his farm positions, which is... Never want to allow it to happen.
No, you don't. And we're going to be seeing, there's a couple of Pack 40s over here, the 75 mil in the middle, but the Pack 38 really, that's engaging a Sherman that's on the hilltop, and we're seeing some of the advanced positions being ground down. Yes, that's a problem. But not enough of a problem, and that's kind of what we keep coming back to here. Is that the Ju-88 making a run to the north? Yes. I don't know if he got his bombs off. I don't think he did.
I don't think so either. Those Dragoonies are slowly getting picked off one by one.
Yeah, the Martyr taking a couple here, a couple there, a couple here, a couple there. Actually, you know what? I think there's an ME-210 who's just making just recon runs on the southern side. I actually kind of like that, because he's keeping eyes on that Tapirtsi more or less.
Yeah, and this is where recon planes can come in very useful, is when you're making very vanguard maneuvers like this. And you can't, you know, bring in the ground-based recon, just having that plane fly about and give some preliminary recon can be quite helpful. Now, will the Hurricanes kill the Stug? That's... Yes.
Yeah, but I think that was a petulant kill, I feel like. I think that was a kill that was like, well, I can't do anything else with these guys. I might as well go down to the bottom.
Now, Oster's gonna see, hey, yes, Auntie, I should probably leave.
Exactly. Exactly. He certainly is getting rocked like a hurricane right now by all the ground fire. He does get out, though, which is the important part. Now, northern side, there's a whisper of breath here, but a true whisper. So Lovich going behind enemy lines, he's going to pick off this Sherman. He might die afterwards, but he's going to pick off the Sherman. It feels like it's the last thing he does. But the Sherman sees him at the last second. Ugh, lucky for him.
And relocating just to get out of range.
Lovich over here is going to probably get a nice surrender here in just a moment. But southern side, there was a 17-pounder being brought on in to maybe kind of stymie that Stug. Stug took out the 17-pounder while still on the track. So,
Oh wow.
Yep.
And the infantry are just slowly getting into position here. And you know it's quite good, because he hasn't even, like, Insha has had an opportunity at least to get one or two infantry squads to hold the farmstead and at least slow down his push, but no, that's a huge chunk of territory and flags which you really can't afford to give up.
Well, it's kind of funny thing is now we have recon planes, we have anti-tank planes, we have recon planes as an off-map. We have just a crazy amount of equipment. So one single bomb goes off, so apparently somehow he only pressed the drop bombs button one time.
Yeah,
and it's enough.
I'm sure it's just like a big button. It just has like the bomb icon on it, and the German pilot just like smashes it.
Oh, absolutely. He kind of like throws out the Heil and then hammers the button.
How Hitler!
Exactly. Heil down!
See much of that. It's fantastic.
Exactly. But over here, I mean, Insha unfortunately going down over here to Stardekk, and a lot of that right there, I would argue, was just the off-map. The off-map stuff was brutal.
Yeah, Insha had really good momentum in the early stages of the match. Not encirclements, but the slight maneuvers with the half-tracks and all of that, but once he got pushed back with those off-maps and had to fight in that rather sticky terrain, kind of screwed him over. Also, he really should have just left his southern side alone. That's just a hedgehog which you don't want to try and hug.
Exactly. Looking at kills and losses, the kills, there was a 157 mil that did pretty well for himself. On the losses, a Stug that had 4 kills. Actually, the off-map only had 5 kills between them, but it felt like they had so much more just oomph behind it. Ju-88, 4 kills. The Stu-42, picking up 5 or 6 kills right there. Johansson, the Stug 3, picking up 6 kills, 7 kills right there. So, I mean, the Hungarians, knife fighters in the extreme. You gotta love it.
Yeah, and also utilizing that, limited armor support very effectively. Those Stugs managed to stymie the tide of the horde of Cromwells.
Exactly. But actually, we know who to blame is the Crusaders, of course. Because, the Crusaders can't do anything right.
Well, they're gonna go get Antioch, but instead, in the middle of Russia.
They were like, wait a second, we're not in the Holy Lands? I was like, yes, the Holy Lands, yes, sure, but different kind of holy. Holy,
It's the
very
last
different
time we
storyline.
let those children lead us on a crusade.
Exactly. Peter the Hermit? Who wants to follow a guy who doesn't have a house? Um, but leaving aside the interpretations of history here, any final thoughts?
No.
Well, folks, in that case, then, it's been another wonderful week with you guys here with Replays. Until next time, I'm Conor.
I'm Rangru. Take it easy.